Hi, Emily Wolfe. Welcome to our Aquarium Sessions here in the Q Factory, Amsterdam.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for your great performance just yet. I mean, you did 3 songs, very good.
Thanks.
Even with a sore throat.
Yeah,
Sounds amazing.
Thanks.
So, you are a self-taught guitarist, I've read somewhere.
Yes.
So can you maybe explain how did you start playing guitar?
Yeah, I started when I was very young. I picked up a guitar when I was about 5, and then I actually started trying to teach myself around 8. And yeah, I basically just tried to play what I heard all around me, which at the time was like Jewel and a couple of like classic rock songs that my dad would play all the time. So I just like listen to that and then try and pick it out with my ear. And then I grew up going to church, not religious anymore, but I'd watch the church band play and then go home and like try and do the same chord shapes. And then it ended up like working out and like just kind of figured my sound out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you mentioned records that your dad had, but did you also buy records yourself? And what kind of acts and bands did you listen to back then?
Back then, when I was younger, I didn't really have my own taste in music, but my mom would play Motown all the time, Smokey Robinson, Temptations, a lot of Linda Ronstadt, and then my dad would play the Guess Who and Tommy James and the Shondells. So I ended up really falling in love with the arrangement of Motown songs and the sound of classic rock. So combining those, I think, is my main goal musically.
Yeah, because we definitely hear the rock influences, of course. So when did the rock get a little bit more into your music?
Let's see. A few years ago, I really started going harder because I figured out it's more fun to really just lay it all out there and rock as hard as possible. So probably a few years ago. But before that, I was, kind of acoustic, kind of indie rockish, trying to find my sound and evolving towards what it is now. Mm-hmm. But what I'm doing now is the most fun, by far.
Mm-hmm. And I think what's very specific for your sound as well is your guitar.
Yeah.
And you play Epiphone Sheraton.
I do.
And why is that a good guitar for you?
Oh, it's perfect. It feels amazing to play for me. Got 2 humbuckers in it, which I love the sound of humbuckers because they're full and rich and they fill up a lot of space on the frequency spectrum. And I also play with a bass player and a drummer. So without a keyboard player, without any other instrument, there's like a lot of space to fill. And get a guitar that big sounding, and I guess physically big too, fills up a lot of that space. So that's why I play it. Also, I love B.B. King, and it's, kind of a copy of Lucille, so that's why I picked it out.
Uh-huh. But for this gig you're doing here, you actually rented one, right?
I got a loaner from Gibson loaned me one because I didn't want to take my number one over here. You never know what's going to happen with the airlines and stuff. So, but they were gracious enough to lend me one.
Yeah. And also you're performing solo, so without the band.
Yeah.
And does that have like an effect on your pedal board, perhaps? Is there like a specific effect pedal that you have to use more now?
Oh, yeah. This is an entirely different pedal board. So I had to like basically build a solo board. And it's got a looper on it, got reverb, some overdrive, and an octave. Like an octave. It's called the Earthquaker Devices Tentacle, and it's this fat octave pedal. No knobs. It's just one switch. So when I'm by myself, I kind of loop the bass and drum part as best I can. So I'll use the scratch of strings as a snare, and then pick the bottom string without any tone to it as the kick drum, and then loop that and try and play over it. Yeah, at this point in my career, it makes more sense to travel overseas solo because it is expensive. But yeah, hopefully one day soon I'll get the boys over here. We'll rock
It would be great as well.
Yeah.
But because the looper is such an important part of your sound solo,
Yeah.
what kind of looper is it exactly?
So it's actually a TC Electronics Alter Ego X4. So it's technically a delay pedal, but it's got a built-in looper on it, which I use. And I like using that one because there's 4 different switches. You got the record, play, play through once button, and then the erase button. So it's all separated. Whereas a lot of loopers, it's all in one switch. And as soon as you click it again, it's like you hear what you were just doing, and it's like that would ruin the vibe of everything. So yeah, it's good to have that one.
And you're here to promote your debut album.
Yeah.
It's called Emily Wolfe,
Yeah.
simply called. And you worked with somebody of the Alabama Shakes, the
Yeah.
keyboardist, actually, Ben Tanner.
Yeah.
So how did you guys approach the recordings for the album?
Well, he came to a live show of mine, not solo, it was full band, and he wanted to get an idea of what the live sound was, and the approach was to take that and put it as best we could on record together. And I would say that the live show is more energetic than the record, but the record I love the texture of it, and it's tonally what I really wanted, so I'm pretty proud of the way it turned out.
Yeah, I read that you are very specific about approaching a record, and you go very deep into like almost a study of all the sounds you want
Yeah.
to get on the record. But how do you approach that?
Yeah, well, I basically I have the songs written. I want to write the songs, complete them, and flesh them out, like, to the point where I can't put any more on it, on a demo. And then I'll get into the studio with it, and then try and recreate the song, the tones that I got in the demo on record, but on a better scale. So yeah, I basically I flesh it out as much as possible before I get in there, because when I go in to record, I just really want to knock it out as fast as possible and have the time at the end to like go back and see if, okay, well, what can I add texture wise, like, you know.
But you also have to leave a little bit of room for like improv
Yeah.
or some spontaneous things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so I'd much rather like have the songs arranged with the, simple Motown arrangement. And that, it's pop arrangement. So I love that. So I like to have them arranged, and then, leave some room for creativity.
Okay. Maybe this is like a last question that we pose to everybody. So we want to know, what do you have in your pockets right now?
My pockets? Let me see. A Band-Aid.
And what is that for? Is that
You know
just
what?
there, or?
It's because, so I cut my finger, which is like the most important finger that I play with, and I ended up having to put some super glue on it to glue it back together to play. And it hurts, but you know what? I'm going to power through. What else? Let's see. I think that's it. I think it's just a Band-Aid. Everything else is not with me. So, single
Okay.
Band-Aid.
Is that also like maybe some advice for other musicians, fellow musicians? Bring your own Band-Aid? Or
Bring
do you
your
have,
own Band-Aid.
Do you have maybe another kind of advice for fellow musicians?
Yeah. Let's see. I think I would want to hear from somebody. If you're playing live, just don't try and basically read the vibe of the room. I know that sounds weird, but for me, it's like the best shows are the ones that I just get lost in myself instead of trying to please these people out there, like, and of course it's all about connecting with them. But I think the best way to connect with the audience is to get to lose yourself in the moment of playing. Yeah.
Very good advice.
Thanks.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for doing this interview, and have a great show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.